I'm still trying to figure this out. I decided to go live since I'm just sitting here working on a project and give you guys a little update, but I'm still testing things out really quick just to make sure it's all working. The frick? Oh well. Okay, so I got a new job, which means I am gonna have to be focusing on readjusting my schedule to that new job. I hope you guys can hear me because I haven't been able to connect on my other device to see how the sound is. One second. Let's see if I can turn the chat on here. That way you guys can let me know if you can hear me or not. One second. Okay. If it's quiet, I'm probably just talking quiet. Is this any better? Because I don't really know how to fix it if it's quiet. But let me see. Did I do that right? I'm still trying to figure out how to connect so that I can see the chat on my other device. Because I think that's going to be a lot easier than having to look back and forth from what I'm working on. Okay, I think it's connecting. Okay, that's a lot better. Okay, got it all figured out. I'm probably not going to change the camera view because this is what I'm working on. But basically, I got a new job, so instead of posting on the 13th, I decided to just do a live really quick and update you guys on what my plan is. One sec, I'm mixing color right now. But basically, I just realized I don't have water, but that's okay. I'm thinking of doing a live video every single month. I'm not sure exactly if there's going to be a specific topic for those live videos or if it's going to take place of the video that I was doing every month on the 13th. Because I'm going to be working more hours at this new job that I just got, which is exciting. But I have an idea for what my next video is going to be, because I was kind of thinking that I could do like one longer, more serious video every month, because I'd rather not have to do that every day. I feel like that could be, I mean, not every day, but every week. If I were to do a video every week, I wouldn't want it to be something super depressing or about the order, because that would just be a lot for my mental health, I feel like. And there's other things that I'm interested in and would rather talk about or spend my time on besides just that specific thing. But yeah, I was thinking I don't really have like a specific plan for what the lives would be about, but I am contemplating if I should have the lives be kind of like more serious vibe and take place on the 13th. And then that way I don't feel any pressure to come out with a video that's potentially triggering or uncomfortable every single month. And I could just do my live, and then whenever I have a topic that I think I am ready to talk about or willing to talk about, I can do that whenever I'm ready, just as I feel like it, basically. Random note, I'm trying to make Invader Zim shoes, but they were kind of giving Buzz Lightyear. So I'm trying to adjust the color a little bit to see if I can fix that. Because I'm not sure how much like actual design detail I want to put into these boots. I had an idea drawn up. I could probably show it at some point. My favorite colors, so these are actually my favorite colors, purple and green. Not this specific purple or this specific green, but like a mint green and a lavender purple, I would say. Those are my favorite colors. But I like a lot of colors. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I could show you guys the design that I originally planned for these shoes, but I don't know if I'm going to commit to the whole thing because that kind of seems like a lot of work. This is my first time ever doing this. So I'm not even sure if I'm doing it right. But I figured I could give a couple things a shot and learn from my mistakes. So I was trying to find like a chemical that could help me strip the leather. So I just kind of like got nail polish remover because I went to the store and I couldn't find the thing that the internet was telling me to get. So I was like, whatever. The thing it has is acetone, and there's acetone and nail polish remover, so maybe that'll work. And then I just put some like adhesive spray on it before I started painting in hopes that makes this is just acrylic paint, in hopes that it makes the paint stick better, I guess. And then I'll spray it with a seal, and I'll probably test it out, see how well it lasts before I really start putting like a bunch of detail into it. I don't know if you guys can see that very well, but this is the original plan. So that would be one side, and then this would be the other side. But now I'm like, it's a lot easier doing it on paper. I don't know about following all that. But anyways, I want to start doing more videos, and just in general, I want to start doing more art. I also am interested in like designing clothes, mostly just for myself, things that I would find or things that I wouldn't find in a store, but things that I would enjoy to wear. And I figured if I'm doing all of that, I might as well share it with you guys as well and talk about things while I do that. This is my first time ever doing a video like this before. That's okay. So I'm not as good at staying focused, but I figured I can only get better. So the next video, I don't want to give away too much, but I did kind of briefly mention the topic on my TikTok. I just want to get all my thoughts together and make sure I'm actually ready to talk about that topic before actually filming the video, but I do have an idea for it. I'm just gonna have to put it on the side until I get used to my new work schedule. Because I'm not very good at keeping my schedule the way it's supposed to be in the first place. So I have a hard time focusing on multiple things at once. But I'm working on it, so can only get better, I guess. Chilled. What do you mean? Like, so you're asking, am I someone who's always chilled? Like, do you ever completely lose it? Like, emotionally? I feel like I try to stay on the chill side, or at least I try not to react immediately or be impulsive. But I'm not going to sit here and say that I've never been impulsive before or that I've never had my moments. Everybody has their moments. But generally speaking, I am pretty chill. I don't really even talk to people very much in real life. I mean, if it's just like a one-on-one conversation or you're someone that I'm close with, then obviously I'll talk with you more. But like when it comes to like coworkers and just people in general, I don't typically talk to people. So it's been a lot easier for me to avoid drama and situations that I don't really want to be a part of because I just don't find much joy in talking to people. I don't know. I think I like to have like separation specifically between work and like personal life. So maybe that's where I'm coming from on that. But that being said, I don't typically like to put myself in a situation where I would feel overwhelmed enough to want to lash out for whatever reason because there's just no point. It's just a waste of my time. I have been in moments with drama that left me traumatized, obviously. And I choose to avoid those people that I associate heavily with that drama, and that trauma as well. So I'm not like willing to keep relationships with certain people if I feel like they're negatively affecting my health. I have no issue cutting someone out of my life. I feel like I've had to learn to be able to do that at a really young age to the most important people in my life. So once I had to do that to the most important people in my life, then it kind of became easy to start doing that to everybody because I'm like, if you're just going to be like full of drama and cause all these issues, then there's just no reason for me to have you in my life. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. But yeah, I just try. I would rather be chill than have to. What did you say? Lose it, I guess. I have to watch that show. I'm not gonna lie. There's Mob Psycho. There's a lot of shows that I have on my list. I have a list of so many animes that I want to watch, but I just haven't gone around to it, I guess. Um, let's see. What else did I want to talk about? Oh yeah, this is kind of random, and I don't even know how to talk about it because at the end of the day, it's not like something I'm concerned about. But I figured it might also have an effect on my upload schedule, just with like the lack of motivation. But basically, let me just tell you what I'm referring to. I had AdSense for a short moment, and I was pretty excited about it. But now YouTube wants me to verify something, and I'm still trying to figure out how to do it. It's not like they want me to verify my identity or my account or anything. They want to like verify my business. And I'm sitting here like, what business? A YouTube channel counts as a business? So I'm a little bit like inexperienced with it. So I figured I'll eventually figure it out. But as of right now, it's hard for me to want to post videos that are, I guess, like really important to me and were hard to work on for some people, or like I know some people who helped me with these videos. And I want it to be worth everyone's effort. You know what I mean? Like there's some videos that I have planned that I would like to be paid for, or at the very least, I would like to try and get a couple of ad revenue out of it. Because I don't, what I have building up, it's not a lot, but if I can make some, that'd be nice. It'd be something I could invest into better equipment in general. Excuse me. Better equipment in general. I didn't mean to turn into a monster all of a sudden. But it's like I'm trying not to let it get in the way of my motivation to post, because that's not like why I do YouTube in the first place. I do YouTube as a hobby and something that I could look back on and be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that." So it's like more personal, but I understand that there's like other people out there. And the way I see it, if the things that I talk about that can help other people, or if the things that I do can be enjoyed by other people, then why wouldn't I want to share that? Like it just sounds like a win-win for me and for everyone who might find it entertaining, or at least relatable or enjoyable, or but I do it because of the reason that I just explained, and a lot of other reasons, but I'm not doing it for trying to like make it into a career or anything, because I already have plans for that I'm more focused on. But that being said, some topics I feel like deserve at least a little bit of ad revenue, because like it's hard to talk about and it's hard to work on those videos, so they might as well get the credit and the validation that they deserve, basically. That's how I see it. Let's see. Do you have somebody to help you out? Oh, with the YouTube thing? The AdSense? I mean, I don't really know. Like I've asked around, and I think a lot of people have that I've asked around have done it a long time ago, so they're not really remembering how they were able to get around it. But I have a couple ideas. Um, some of them I don't know if they're gonna work, but it's a process, and I'll get to it. And there's a couple of things that I have tried, but I don't really want to get into that specifically. I just wanted to mention that it's not working at the moment, so there's some heavier topics that are gonna have to be held off until then, until I get it figured out. So Invader Zim has like lime green, and then they do have purple, but they also have like a pink or like a violet. So I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to incorporate the violet in any of the backdrop that I'm doing now, or if I'm just going to only do it in decal later on. But in the meantime, I'm just putting the lime on the darker green to make it pop out a little bit more. Yeah, I've had my channel for a while. So actually, I think I started it when I was like, or I started doing YouTube when I was like 12, but obviously I was in a cult and wasn't supposed to be doing that, so I had to delete everything, which I'm glad because I don't even remember what I was posting, but it's got to be like the most embarrassing little kid random bull crap that you can imagine. But then I left the cult, and at some point I started living with my brother, and that's when I started the videos that you can find on my channel now, which are still pretty embarrassing and still pretty cringy, but that's okay. But I've been doing it for a while. I just haven't been very consistent with it because my life hasn't been very consistent. I've kind of been all over the place. There've been a couple years at a time where I didn't even have a phone. So making videos was like something that I still wanted to do, but I just literally had no way of doing it, had no access, no time, um, nowhere to do it. See, this is like what I was worried might happen with the acrylic paint. It would, I don't know if you can see that, but there's like white cracks. I was wondering if there's any way I can avoid that, or if I'm supposed to put a seal on it and that would help prevent that or not. Either way, that's why I'm not trying to do a lot of detail quite yet, because I kind of want to see how it holds up before I put like a bunch of effort into it and then stupidly wear it with every outfit that happens to have purple and green in it. And then I'll be really sad when all my hard work is basically destroyed. So I'm trying to avoid that. I also have another pair of shoes that I want to work on in the future. So these are kind of like my test shoes to see if I can figure out a good way to do it before I mess up my nice shoes that I actually care about. I'm just kidding. I care about these shoes too, but you get the point. Okay. That being said, I am still like with me working on art and wanting to do more art. I'm still figuring out exactly how I want to go about selling it or advertising it to people, because I kind of like the idea of keeping it local, but I also feel like it would be easier to do something online. And part of me is like, well, why not both? But I'm also like, it's also kind of something I'm doing as a hobby, and I don't really want to overwhelm myself with something that's supposed to be fun and for like relief, not for like paying the bills basically. Um, I've also been more interested in designing clothes, but I've never been good at that kind of stuff. Sorry, I'm just reading your comments. Um, I've never been good at like designing clothes for like my own characters that I've come up with or drawn. But for some reason, if I think about clothes that I like, or like kind of like what I'm working on now, like with the shoes, if it's clothes that I like or clothes that I can imagine myself wearing, but I can never find in a store, for some reason, then all of a sudden I can think of clothes. But whenever I'm drawing a character, I can never think of clothes. Just whenever I'm thinking of, man, there's this cool idea for a piece of clothing that I wish I had, but I've never seen it in my life. Or I've seen things similar, but it's like a piece of that and a piece of something else put together. I don't even have a sewing machine, but I think it would be super cool if I started getting into that as well. I'm gonna add black. I think getting rid of this white and adding the black will make it less Buzz Lightyear, and more what I'm actually going for. So I'm not like super ready to go into detail about the video that I'm going to work on this soon, but it does have something to do with like the fasting in the order and the pressure that there is around that. Like, I don't even know where I'm going with this, because that's the thing. I'm still figuring out a script and exactly like, because I mean, not that my videos are scripted, but I like to have like my notes. I'll keep notes of things that like I want to talk about, and I'll try and organize them, because sometimes the way that I talk or the way that I explain things is kind of all over the place, and I think people are on the same train of thought as me, but then people are like, "What are you even talking about?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm talking about what I've been talking about this whole time." Let's see. I don't know if I should do this with a paintbrush or if I should just chicken out and do it with a Sharpie, because a Sharpie would definitely be a lot easier. But yeah, I basically wanted to talk about how the fasting affected me personally, and how it can cause like a very toxic environment or like expectation around food and around people's bodies. Because I know that there's like people who swear by fasting, and whether it's for like a spiritual reason or like a health reason for like cleansing and whatever, but there's a lot of pressure and expectations, and they're not very educated when it comes to pretty much anything. But in this case, uh, genetics, how bodies work, how food works, nutrition, all that stuff. They don't know how that stuff works. I was never taught it. I don't think any of them were really taught it. And if they were, it was definitely by a parent and not the same thing that everyone else has access to, like church and school. So there's definitely other people who have no idea what it means to like actually take care of your health. I think obviously if they knew, they probably wouldn't be drinking comfrey. I think they're very health obsessed, but I don't think they know much about it. And it's probably partly due to the fact that they don't trust doctors and all that stuff, and they just believe whatever they're told by some random numbered man who just decided one day that eating ramen is bad, basically. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out if I want to go, because I can only really like talk about the things that I experience and how I remember it being. So I'm trying to decide if I want it to be like, this is my experience, this is my story, and this is how it was for me kind of video, or if I want to be like, well, these are the different experiences that I've heard about. These are the things that I've experienced, and these are the things that I've witnessed. Like, I don't know if that makes any sense, but I usually try to keep my videos very, well, this is how it is for me, not involving other people's stories, because I think other people should always have the ability to be there to tell their story and be the one to tell their story, as well as, if I am telling someone's story, I want them to be there because they can correct me if there's anything that I got wrong or if there's something I missed. But essentially, if someone's not there to defend themselves or get the story straight, basically, I don't like the idea of talking about it. But if it's like, I don't want to say rumor, but if it's like something that is well known or like talked about a lot and something like that, then I'm more willing to bring it up. Hmm. But yeah, I'll probably just go the route of, well, this is my experience with it. Because I feel like that's just, that's what I have to go off of, and that's what I have the right to talk about. That's how I see it. But I just want to think about it more because there's just so much going on that I feel like should be shared. And it just gets to a point where it's like, well, it might not be my story to tell, but like, who is going to tell it? Who is going to stand up for this person? Because they're not standing up for themselves. So who's going to? Who's going to tell the story of the person that never leaves, the person that never got out? Who's going to stand up for them and tell their story? They're not going to do it. But if they're still there and they're still alive, then it's like, maybe I shouldn't. And some people say, well, just don't mention their names. And I'm like, well, yeah. But people in the order and people from the group because the drama there and the gossip is so bad, like, there's a high chance that everyone knows who you're talking about, even if you just mention, like, oh, yeah, one time there's this person who would, like, go jumping on the hood of someone's car. I bet you there's people in the order right now who might be rewatching this and being like, oh, I know who that is. Like, it's hard to want to talk about people knowing that there's a chance someone from the order is going to be watching it and they might know who I'm talking about. And I don't ever want to get anyone in trouble or make them the target of bullying or anything like that just because I'm trying to get a point across. Um, but yeah, I do believe that the culture in the order specifically, or at least in my experience, surrounding food and fasting and like body health and expectations, I don't think it's very healthy at all, or accurate. And obviously that's bad because it leads to lots of problems. People grow up not knowing how to even take care of themselves, so you end up having kids that are having kids that are not sure how to give those kids the nutrition that they need in order to actually grow up the way that they're supposed to. Um, Whenever a kid is sick, they just get told, "Oh, just go fast and pray about it." Like, or at least that's my experience. But just stuff like that, like, it's just not good. And I think it's not very talked about, and I think they're very uneducated around it. So they could see someone struggling with food and struggling with stuff and either not even realize that there's a problem or not realize what the problem is. And it's just a recipe for disaster in a lot of cases. Um, can I ask something? I'm not sure if it's too personal. You could always ask, and then I could just decide not to answer. That's how I see it. Because I can give you permission to ask something, but like that's not gonna, determine if I'm willing to answer it. But feel free. Let's see. Ah! I just got it on my hand. Okay, but it still looks fine. So the thing is I'm gonna have to do a second coat, maybe even a third coat of every color. If it's gonna go how it's been going. So if I did mess it up, that's okay. I'll just figure it out when I do my second coat. There's going to be more black, I feel like, than just that. I kind of want to do stripes, but for now I'm just going to focus on the rim until I figure out exactly where I want the stripes to be. That's actually, so he says, when did I find out I'm non-binary? It's kind of a funny topic, but and I could make it a long story, but I feel like it doesn't really need to be a long story. I tell people I'm non-binary because to me that's a lot easier than telling people I'm apigender, which I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but essentially it's being apathetic towards gender, and I might not be explaining it the best way, but it's essentially, or at least personally, I just don't really see a point in caring about gender or like having a gender, because I believe that gender is just a construct and it's just a bunch of made up roles that everyone decided at some point, and not even everyone, it's just some people decided at some point this is how it should be and now everyone has to follow it. Which I think is stupid. I think men should be able to wear skirts and dresses and still be considered manly and not looked at as gay or feminine or weak or whatever. And like for me personally, I'm like I should be able to wear whatever I want, and so obviously a guy should be able to wear what he wants as long as it's like, appropriate. And when I say appropriate, I'm not trying to say like you can't dress like a hoe. Obviously, if you want to dress like a hoe, dress like a hoe. But there's a time and a place. If you're going to a club, go ahead. But don't be walking on the sidewalk next to an elementary school looking like a hoe. That's just my opinion. Like, obviously, do whatever you want. It's your choice. It's your body. You're beautiful, and you deserve to celebrate that. But do recognize that other people exist on this earth as well. And some people have certain boundaries that they would appreciate if you followed. And I think that's boundaries is being appropriate. There's a time and a place. But yeah, basically, when did I find out that I was, I guess, non-conforming to gender? I would say I officially decided to start going as non-binary to people because that's easier than saying, "Oh, I'm apigender," blah blah blah. But so I identify with non-binary. It's what's recognized, at least a little bit. I think around 2020, but I'm honestly not entirely sure. It could have been before that, and I just haven't really put much thought into it. Because, like I said before, I just think it's all stupid. Um, I should be able to look manly one day and look feminine one day and not have it say anything about me as a person or my character. It's just like your body doesn't like your body doesn't show your soul. So the way I see it is I like to dress up and I like fashion and I like to have fun with things, and I also like to be lazy, and sometimes, no offense to the men out there, but sometimes I be lazy and I'm like I kind of want I think I look more masculine today, and so it feels nice to sometimes be recognized as like the male pronouns or whatever, but I think mostly I just prefer they them because it's 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 respectful, it's unassuming, and there's almost no effort that goes into saying they them for people in general, like even my coworkers or something like that. Someone will ask like, "Oh, where's this person?" I'll be like, "Oh, they're over here." Like it's I've already kind of gotten into the habit of just saying they, them most of the time in conversations because I feel like that just makes more sense. It shouldn't be like it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary information. Unless it becomes necessary information to the topic, then there's no reason for me to bring gender into it. Just like how there's probably no reason for me to bring race into it. And there's no reason for me to bring religion into things a lot of the times. I mean, of course, there's going to be times where I do want to talk about religion. But I don't know, that's just how I see it. It's not a big deal. It's not as big of a deal as people make it out to be. And people make it out to be a big deal. And so it becomes a big deal. And then people's rights get taken away. That's how I see it. And I don't like that. I would say my gender is, I don't have a gender. So I identify most with non-binary because I don't think that I would have a gender. Like, if we were in the Matrix and we were aware of being in the Matrix and I could decide exactly how I wanted my body to look, I don't think my body would look the same throughout my life. I think I would change it up. I think I would change my gender. I think I would change my species. I think I would change my everything. I would change it up and customize it as much as I feel like. So personally, when I think of like, what's my identity? Well, I identify with a lot of things. I've got my theory and identity where I identify with my previous life that I believe in. And I do tie that in to my spiritual beliefs as well. The whole Therian thing and like reincarnation and that. But I just, I have multiple things that I can identify with, and I think humans just in general are very intelligent creatures who can adapt throughout their life to a lot of different things, and I think that is just how I do that, or me having a lot of different things that I can identify with and not feeling like I have to do one thing or the other or stay one way or a different way and that I'm not allowed to change, or that I have to be a certain way. Then sorry, I forgot what my point was. But I just don't like the idea of me being stuck to one thing because I don't think humans are meant to be stuck. I think we're meant to change and evolve and be who we are. And I do believe that people can change as well. And that has something to do with, I don't even know what I'm trying to explain, but like people change. And so that might have something to do with me thinking like, oh, my identity, I don't want it to stay something solid or something specific because I want to be able to change however I want to, or whenever I want to, or however I need to, whatever's gonna be best for me in that moment. Oh, that's so funny that you said so Gwen Morgan says, fun fact, The Matrix is a trans allegory and was written by two trans women. That is so funny. I've actually heard of that and I didn't even realize that fact when I was bringing up The Matrix in my analogy, but that's funny how it worked, you know what I mean? Like, but there were times throughout my childhood, even being in a cult, where I was like, am I a boy? Am I a girl? I don't know. They tell me I'm a girl, so I must be a girl. But girls are treated pretty badly. I don't know if I want to be a girl. So it's like I've kind of thought about it for a long time throughout my childhood, and I never saw a point in the difference. I never saw a a valid reason as to why women and men were treated differently, or boys and girls were treated differently, I should say, because I was just a girl. Um, but I never understood it, and I always thought that it was stupid. So that might also have something to do with it. I don't know. Do you ever face discrimination or ridicule for your gender? Well, if I probably do, and I just don't care enough to remember. Cause that's the thing. Like, if someone were to make fun of me for my gender, like, why would I care? You know what I mean? Like, it's a different story if I were to be. Sorry, I don't even know if you guys can see what I'm working on. Um, it would be a different story if I was concerned for my safety. Nobody wants to ever be concerned for their safety, especially because of their identity. But I feel like I faced a lot more ridicule for being a Therian before I ever even was able to recognize that I didn't identify with any gender specifically, or at least not within like the binary or whatever. Um, so I don't think I put much thought into it. I was just more focused on like, well, I know I'm a Therian and people treat me like shit because I'm a Therian. So I mean, not everybody, obviously. It's not like I'm saying that I'm oppressed because of an Ethereum. That's not, no, I wouldn't say that. But you do get judgment. Um, I have had to deal with shitty comments from people just because of me being Therian and wearing something that might reveal it, or even like expressing a feeling or saying something that might reveal it to people that I'm Therian. And I've been judged pretty harshly for that. So I think when it comes to my gender, because I'm apathetic towards gender, because I don't see a point in giving a crap about it most of the time, I understand why other people do. Like, I'm not saying that trans people should just get over it like me. That's not what I'm saying. Um, but I'm lucky in the fact that I don't care that much and that it doesn't affect me that much. But I think what I'm trying to say is, sorry, I'm like partially more focused on what I'm working on than the question. Um, but I think what I'm trying to say is one second. Um, oh, that's the other reason I don't do lives often, because I disassociate and I forget what I was talking about and what I was doing. But I see the comment. So if I remember where I was going with that, I'll bring it back up, and I'll just hope that you guys know what I'm talking about. But let's see. The discrimination. I think my point was, I don't think if I face discrimination, I mean, I've had like old people, I just don't talk about it to people in public, like in real life often. Um, because it just doesn't come up a lot, and I just don't, see a point in talking about it. But I've been nervous talking about it around certain people, and there have been times when I was like, well, I don't know if this person should know that that's how I feel. Um, because I do fear the worst, and I do hate conflict. But if someone were to bully me or like go after me like in a way that, I think it just depends on the situation really, but if it's like teenagers, like I've been called emo and I've been barked at by like teenagers. I've had like harassment for the way that I look just in general from like dumb kids. And if it's like something like that, like if it's about my gender, I wouldn't really care, cuz or like my identity, it's like okay, whatever, like it's really not that, it's not that deep. So if anyone feels like it's that deep and thinks that they need to make fun of someone else or belittle someone because of how they identify, then that speaks more about the other person, not me. So it just lets me know, okay, that person's kind of stupid. Don't need to talk to them ever again in my life, basically. Um, they stole the story. The original idea was not theirs. Yeah, I wouldn't know. There's a lot of things that I hear about on the interwebs, but I don't do a whole lot of research in movies and stuff because I like movies, but I've never known a lot of movies. I wasn't really into them growing up. I was always more into anime my whole life. Surprising as that may be, but it's the truth. I think I was one of those kids that was like, it wasn't necessarily that I was like obsessed with anime or whatever, but I think it was more like it was something that I liked and that not a lot of other people liked. And I was different. I was not like the other girls, and I was so unique, quirky, and original. And so I just like dove into that as like the only thing that like made me different from other kids. Because it's like, oh, we all go to the same school, we all go to the same church, we all have the same dad. We all did the exact same thing that summer and the exact same thing that weekend. We all went to church. And we all didn't, you know, just stuff like that. Like it was very much like everyone's the same, everyone's doing the same thing, and so I was very much like I don't want to be like other girls. But then again, I was like freaking 12 or 11 when I cared about that stuff. And now I'm like, girls are pretty cool actually. I think it'd be pretty nice to be like them, but I'm always like, why be like other people when I can be like myself? That just seems like a lot easier, less stressful, at least, and I don't have to cater to anybody. And I'm like, I left a cult so that I could be myself. Why would I not be myself? Like, I wasn't allowed to be myself. I mean, of course, I was being abused and all the other stuff, but I wasn't allowed to be myself. No one understood me, and I didn't want to be like other girls. I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing myself at this point, but yeah, I left the order so that I could live my life, not let other people dictate how I see things and who I want to be, basically. Um, I don't know if it would affect sexual orientation. So he asks, does epigender affect sexual orientation? So there is a separation between like someone's sexual identity and their gender identity. But and then there's a whole other topic of like, oh well, there's women who identify as lesbians, but then they turns out they're actually trans men, but they still want to identify as a lesbian because they've been identifying as a lesbian and they don't have, there's a whole topic of conversation around that I'm not really like ready to get into. I believe I need to educate myself a little more before I talk about all that. But I imagine that if you don't care what your gender is, you probably don't care about other people's gender either. Or at least case, in my case, I tell people I'm bi and non-binary, but I would say more specifically I'm actually apigender and demisexual. I've never been super interested in learning all of the different labels, not because I don't think that they matter or that they're important, but because they just aren't to me. What's important to someone doesn't have to be important to me, and what's not important to me, that doesn't mean it's not important to someone else. But I have always been very, or at least as a kid, I was very confused about what my sexual orientation was because I was a child. Give me a break. But I was also in a cult and I was just like expected to be not only straight but a polygamist. And so I just, I was discovering my life and just learning how to navigate through it. But when I was younger, I thought I was lesbian because I would see girls in anime and I would see girls on movies and I would see all the models and all that good stuff. And I'd be like, the heck, girls are so pretty. And so, and then I learned what a lesbian was. And it's like, oh, lesbian is a girl who likes another girl. And so I was like, oh, well, then that's me. Like, I was super little and I was like, oh, a girl who likes another girl. I like girls. They're super pretty. I like them. Um, they're like, no, that's bad. You're not supposed to like girls. Like, in a bad way, in a gay way is what they'd always say. Like they weren't really, or at least my generation wasn't really allowed to say like sex or sexy or like provocative. Like they weren't allowed to say like any bad words like that. Um, so whenever we wanted to imply something in that nature, we would say gay. Obviously, that's not what gay means. But growing up, my generation, or at least my friend group in my grade, we grew up just referring to it as being gay. Anything sexual at all ever is being gay. So now I have this running joke, this inside personal joke that heterosexuality is gay because it is. It's so gay. But anyways, what was I talking about? Oh yeah. Yeah, so I thought I was lesbian and then I was like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to be lesbian. Okay, never mind. I guess I'm not lesbian." So then I was like very confused. I was like, "Huh, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about." And then I didn't worry about it because I was like, "Oh, okay, well maybe I just think that they're cute because that's what I want to look like." So then I started being all, "Oh, this is how I want to be, blah blah blah." And then I got to a point where I was like 12 and I was going to the marriage classes and they're talking about like polygamy. So I was learning a little bit more about what was expected of me. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm supposed to like boys, but I'm also supposed to. Sorry, one sec, my cat. I love you, but you can't get up here. Not while I'm here. You can do it in secret when I'm not home, but you can't do it while I'm here. Um, but I was like, oh, okay. So not only am I supposed to like boys, but I'm also supposed to like the idea of having a sister wife. But like we don't get together. No, 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 no. We're all sleeping with the same guy, but not with each other, because that's weird. But we all sleep with the same guy, and that's not weird. So I was just like learning. Oh, okay, so this is how things are. So obviously, if this is how things are, then I must be straight because that's I'm a good child of the Lord, and that is what has been decided for me is that I'm straight. So then I thought I was straight for a long time. And in high school, I thought I was straight. And I would tell people I was straight. And then I had a friend. He was my best friend in the whole world, still is. And he came out to me as trans. So he, at the time, I I saw them as a girl in my school that I thought was cool. And then, we were friends, and one summer they come out as trans. And so then he goes through, his transition and he's not teaching me anything, but I'm asking him questions and I'm doing a lot of research because as someone who comes from a cult, I have to go through a whole process of like, what are my values? What do I believe? What do I disagree with that I was taught? Like, what do I believe and why do I believe it? Do I believe it because that's what I believe, or do I believe that because that's what I was told to believe? And so I spent 5 long years, all of my teenage life, which is what you're supposed to do in your teenage years, finding out who you are and what you believe, what your values are. Um, so I did that. And I think it was good for me that I had a best friend that was trans because he was able to open the conversation up in my life to where I was actually going in and doing the research and being like, what are people's opinions? And I wanted to get everyone's opinions, and I wanted to get, the facts, and I wanted to get, this is what things are. And so I got enough information. Obviously, I wouldn't say like, oh, I did research and now I'm a professional. Like, obviously not. But I did enough research to where I was able to come up with my own conclusion. And my own conclusion was, if it's what you feel like is true and if it's what makes you happy, fuck yeah. Like, who am I to decide? Who am I to tell you how to live your life? You're not hurting anybody. So, what's the big deal? Um, Ooh, does this also kind of give Beetlejuice vibes? I was getting Buzz Lightyear vibes, which is not what I want. I mean, I'm not trying to start like dissing on Buzz, but I was not going for that vibe at all. But this is kind of it. I knew it. I knew that adding the black would make it look a lot better. I was like, it's got to be the white. The white outlining that's just everywhere. That's for sure the reason it makes me think of Buzz Lightyear. And I was correct. This is already making a lot more sense. Let's see. Yeah, so it's he says, or Clive Matthews says, it's funny what the order thinks are bad words. Yeah, I even while I was in the order, I was very confused because there were some families that couldn't say ugly or, hate or butt or fart. Like there were friends of mine, there were half siblings of mine that couldn't say words, but then they could say the N word and they could say like the F slur. And I'm sitting there like, I mean, at the time, I didn't see anything wrong with it because no one ever taught me what was wrong about it until I left the environment. But I was even still in the cult, I was still confused. I was like, why is it that there's words that I'm told are bad, but you're told are okay, and then there's words that you're told are bad, but I'm told are okay? Like, how am I supposed to be a good order member? How am I supposed to follow the Lord's rules and follow the Bible if everyone has different beliefs on what's okay and what's not okay? Like, like when I was a kid, I was talking to my friend and I was like, no, you can say the word suck. If something sucks, it sucks. That's just how it is. Like, that's not a bad word. And she's like, yes, it is. You can't say that word, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, you can't say that word, but I can say that word. So I'm still going to say that word. I'm not going to stop saying it just because you can't say it. Like, there there were times where I was very confused. And even still to this day, there's words that I'm like, is that considered a swear word? Is hoe a swear word? Is whore a swear word? Is slut a swear word? Is cunt a swear word? I have no idea. Like, I'm sitting here on YouTube live, not even sure if the words I'm saying are bad because, like, who decides those things? What makes it vulgar? Who decides that? The church? And why is the church deciding that? Like, I don't understand. Someone educate me on this because it never makes sense to me. And there's people who say like, "Oh, damn is a bad word," but then you see it in the Bible. And there's people who are like, "Well, the Bible doesn't dictate what's a swear word. And I'm like, then what does? Who decides these things? Do we decide it? Did we as a society just all of a sudden decide to be offended by certain things? But then when it comes to like, the history behind slurs, like that's obvious. Once you educate yourself on the history behind different slurs and like how certain minorities and how certain people who were in oppressed groups were treated for centuries, for like throughout all fucking time, then it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It makes sense why this is a word that people shouldn't just throw around. Like, especially a bunch of dumb little kids, a bunch of dumb little white kids in a freaking cult somewhere in the middle of Utah. Like, there's definitely some things that shouldn't just be thrown around like it's nothing. Um, but then when it comes to like the word bitch, like that literally means female dog. Like, I mean, I don't like being called a bitch, but I only don't like that because I know that I'm not supposed to like it. Like, I don't know. People are funny. They're hard to understand. I don't think I'll ever understand. Dude, so there were lots of words. I remember one time, I mean, this one probably should be obvious that it's not supposed to be said, but I told my fourth grade teacher one time in the cult to go screw herself. Uh, because she wouldn't let me use the bathroom, and I was like, well, I need to use the bathroom, so you can go screw yourself. And then I just walked out of the class and I just started going to the bathroom. But then, like, obviously I got in trouble. My mom got called, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, how dare you say that? We do not say those things. And in my head, like, I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what the innuendo was. I just knew that's what my siblings said to me. Like, no, go screw yourself. Meh, meh, meh. All the bickering that I grew up with. Like, I just knew that's what I heard. And I was like, huh, that makes sense. It's like saying beat it, but in a different way. In different context. Like it's beat it, but I can use it for different scenarios than I would be able to use the words beat it. But then all of a sudden I'm getting in trouble and I'm sitting there like, is screw a swear word? But I thought that's just what you put in the wall to like hang a picture frame or something, or like put the house back together. But whatever. It's always confusing. And every family had their own rules, and I just remember thinking they were stupid. I think hearing other people had different rules made me want to say even more bad words as a kid, because I was like, well, if everyone's just gonna pick and choose what's bad, and I don't even know what's bad until after I get in trouble, why do I even care? Why not just say whatever I want? Except for, of course, I would never swear because I'm a good member of the order and I'm a good child of God. I mean, Heavenly Father. I am Heavenly Father's favorite child, actually. So I would never swear. Dude, even when I left the order, I was like, I would never swear. I would never get a tattoo. Never get a piercing, and blah 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 blah. And then like a couple weeks later, maybe a couple months, I was like, why do I feel that way again? Oh yeah, because I was told to feel that way. It's crazy how much you can change when you start thinking for yourself. How much of your personality can actually come out. Sorry, I'm reading the comments. Really? So that's okay. So this person says, I think ho falls under a slur instead of a swear word. And yeah, it was society once upon a time. Then strict just ran with it as hard as they. See, that's another thing where it's like I didn't even know what that word was. I don't think I've ever even heard of that word until after I was like either a year before I left or the year that I left after I left. I started hearing my peers in foster care or in the girls group home, and I started hearing the radio saying that word, and I was like, "What is that?" And then people would be like, ah, that's a bad word. That's a you're not supposed to say that because back then a lot of people saw me as like, oh, this ex polygamous girl, like she's so innocent. We don't want to like turn her into a bad kid. And so whenever I did say a swear word, people thought it was hilarious because I normally didn't swear. I wasn't comfortable with it at the time. Um, but obviously now I'm more comfortable with it. I'll still say the other things that I grew up saying that aren't slurs, like frick and oh my heck and that kind of stuff. Because I think it sounds funny. I think it's silly. Silly to say those things. So pretty much for the same reason why I swear. I I feel like there's a lot of meaning and a lot of strength behind swear words. Um, I don't think they're evil, as I don't think the words themselves are evil. I think it's how we use them and the intention that we put behind our words that make them evil. And I think that's how animals would see it too. Like animals, they might understand certain sound patterns, but they don't really know every single word you're saying. They just know what kind of tone you're using. And if you sound upset with them and you're screaming at them and you're saying nice things, they're just going to assume you're mad at them. They're not going to know that you're praising them because you're sitting there yelling at them and you're sitting there putting this bad energy and this bad intention into your words. And I think that's what really matters. I don't think it's the word that matters. I think it's the intention behind the words and the meaning behind the words when in like with context. Like, because there's friends who will be like calling each other the B word and they're just like teasing each other. Like they don't think anything of it. But if a stranger were to come up to you and start cussing you out and calling you the B word, that probably wouldn't feel very nice. Or if your significant other starts calling you the B word, I can't, I know from experience that does not feel very nice. And I can't imagine people who actually like that. It's a thing, but I can't relate to liking being called names. But I understand when it's just like it depends. Like there's you need context, and I think there's meaning behind words and behind who's using words and the context behind the words and all that good stuff. But that's why I'm like I don't put a lot of like attention into like is that a swear word, because I'm like who cares? Like why do you care? Why does it matter? Like obviously don't go out of your way to say words that do have a lot of heavy history behind them and like heavy meaning behind them. But when it comes to other words like bitch, I'm like, I mean, it literally just means female dog. And maybe I also see it that way because I'm like, I want to work with animals. I love animals, so I might have to actually use that term in a professional way. Like, and then there's other things. Like a lot of swear words have other meanings, and it's like, oh, but they're spelt differently. It's like, okay, so it's not like you can tell they're spelled differently when you're talking. good night. I know you're probably already long gone. Um, sorry, I get into the zone when I'm doing my thing, and then I'm also really good at talking to myself. So there, I'm not gonna lie, there are a couple of times when I completely forgot I was even live, and I'm just sitting there talking to myself. Um, Fair enough. You think it should only be women who use the B word? I think that's completely fair. I feel like any of the heavy history that is around that word, I think it's mostly women that have any feelings or negative feelings towards that word. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Um, but yeah, that's the other thing, like in regards to like the previous topic of my gender identity. Like I know I am born with female parts, and I know that people are always going to perceive me as a female, regardless of what I wear, what I do, or how I change my body or whatever. So, because of that, I just don't see a point in worrying about it. But I will generally identify more with like she, they pronouns because of it. Because I'm like, yeah, I know that people are going to see me as a woman for the rest of my life. And, they have seen me as a lady my whole life. And I have to deal with cramps. I have to deal with periods. And I have to, face the same stuff that women face, especially coming from a cult. Like, I got to face not the worst of it. Like, at least I didn't have to get fucking married, but like, I, in the cult. But, I've had to face some pretty shitty things because I'm a woman. Or, like I still identify with being a woman because that's what my sex is, and that's what I, identified with most of my life, and that's how people are always going to see me. And a lot of the issues that women face are issues that I face or have faced. So it does make sense to me to still identify with being a woman, but also being like, well, I wouldn't say I'm a woman. Like I'm just a person. Like, and even then, I'm a Therian. Like, especially as a teenager, I used to joke all the time, like, I'm not even a human, so why should I care about what my gender is? Like, I don't even care about what my species is. Why would I care about my gender? I'm just kidding. Well, anyways, I think that was pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Let me just look over my notes. Yeah, I'm thinking of doing lives probably just once a month. Um, Once I do have like a more set schedule, because I think getting a new job is like a huge transition for me. So, but once I do get a new schedule figured out, um, I'll be sure to let you guys know. I'll keep you guys posted. But as of now, thank you for joining. Thank you for chatting with me, everybody. I hope you guys are having a good day. I hope you guys have a good night. And just remember that everyone is just out there living their life, just trying to do their best, hopefully, to be as happy as they can be. And that if someone hurts your feelings, chances are they're not really trying to hurt your feelings. They're just doing their own thing. And if they are trying to hurt your feelings, maybe don't be around those people. Um, but everyone has the right to express themselves as long as they're not hurting anybody, and that includes themselves. So feel free to express yourself as long as you're not hurting yourself or anybody else. But yeah, goodbye. How do I turn this off? Does this turn it off? Yes.